Welcome to another Harris-Elmore and Genoa Libraries podcast with me, Ariel, and Sierra, who is back. Confetti.
I'm here. I'm sure you guys had fun last month without me, but I'm back.
That's right. The OG crew.
Yeah, right? You missed me. You know you did.
Yes.
I'm the
definitely
greatest.
Glad you're back.
I'm just glad to be back. And I was so set on doing March's. No, it was April's podcast. Recorded in March. And I was out of work for almost the entire month of March. So I missed all of my programs. Jen was doing everything for me, and Nathan was covering my Lego club, and it was crazy. Everybody was covering my shifts. So,
but it's all good. It worked out.
Yeah, I think so. It was really great. Everybody was really great. I mean, covering for me and waiting for me. So it's good to be back. To be back into the podcast and everything.
And it's a good time to be back. May is such a fun time. Spring, it's warmer. Yeah, there's still rain and the ground gets muddy, but it's still warmer times are ahead.
I always have this image in my head that I think May would be the best time to get married, because all the trees that are flowering trees have their blooms then.
Oh,
or
yeah.
I know that in Elmore there's a ton of blooming trees downtown and right near my parents' house and everything. So it's I just love the flowering trees in May. So I just have that in my head that May would be the best time to get married if you didn't get rained out and you could actually be outside.
Yes.
Because I just love flowering trees. They smell so good. And I'm sorry, if you're watching the video version of this and my eyes keep darting, it's because it's snowing outside.
Quite a lot.
I don't know, I'm like a cat. If it's raining or it's snowing, my eyes are just drawn to it and I have to stare at it. It's so
crazy how much snow there is, because obviously you guys know we record these a little bit in advance.
Yeah, so it's still April, but it's almost the end of April and it's sticking to the grass. It's all over the roof lines. I'm surprised. I knew it was gonna snow, but I didn't know it was gonna snow as much as it's currently snowing.
Yeah, well, and that's why I think when you're talking about if you get rained out for a wedding, you can still have rain in the summer or the fall. I know. Yeah. For mine, we had the ceremony. Great. After the ceremony, you had maybe 20 minutes, and all you saw was dark clouds rolling in.
I was like, it rained, didn't it?
It poured. It was torrential, and then it rained for 40 minutes, and then it stopped. But I was like, okay. They say it's good luck, so I'll take it.
Oh, really? Oh, well,
yeah. They say if it rains on your wedding day, it's a sign of good luck, because it usually with a knot with a rope, making it wet makes it harder to untie.
Okay. That's actually really interesting. I did not know that. I would have thought that rain or any sort of natural weather phenomenon or something would be an omen or a bad thing.
That's what it says. People have told me, so
I like that. It turns, it kind of turns my way of thinking on its head. I just always assumed that bad weather, or if you had an outside wedding and it got wet and y'all had to run inside, that would be a bad thing, but it's not, apparently.
Yeah, there's
according to someone.
What movie is it? Oh, I think the deer season or hunter season. That can't be right. Speaking of superstitions, they said if you get blood on your wedding dress, that's a bad omen, and it happened on this girl's wedding day in the movie, and all things that could have happened to their relationship just was out the window. And I can't remember what it is. It's something. It's set in Vietnam time.
Oh, weird. So if we just Google movie where girl gets blood on wedding dress.
Yeah. I almost want to say like the hunting season or deer season. It has, what is his name? You know, the guy.
Oh, is it the one where like she has to run away from his family and they're hunting her?
No, that
Is that
it's
the newer
definitely not
movie?
that. Not that one.
Okay, because I'm like, that's a new movie. That's called Ready or Not.
No, The Deer Hunter. That's what it's called. It has Robert De Niro in it. That's what it is.
Oh. I'm gonna delete that weird search from my history.
That's why keywords are important, people. I was like, I don't know. I'm not wording it correctly.
I'm just always interested in weird stuff like that. Oh, it's got Christopher Walken in it too.
Yeah, it's like whole crew, but it was back in 78 is when it was released. And so that's how the movie starts. And then it just goes, I would say, just chaotic.
Yeah.
It's very
It sounds crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, some parts of it were very hard to watch. I took in college a Vietnam War class in cinematography to like see how the war was portrayed in films versus like things that are either happened or things that were happening in real life, but glorified in movies and all that jazz.
Right. That's interesting.
That was one of them, and I was like, ooh, I would have never watched it if I hadn't taken that class.
No, I've never heard of it. So if you're interested in that, you can look it up.
That's right.
The libraries don't own it, but we can order it.
That's right. Which it's kind of a, I was going to say, it's kind of a good, that's okay. That's a good segue because there's a lot of mental health trauma in that movie.
Oh, yeah, that puts us right into
our
subject today.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I was going to say. Whoa, it's crazy. Weird long pause. Sorry, I could not remember what I was going to say. It was not important. It wasn't important.
Okay,
my brain's still thinking about it, but it wasn't important. I always say that like it's not a big deal. Continues to like think and go into like my crazy mind space where I'm like, no, it's fine.
Honestly, like try to figure it out.
Still thinking, yeah. All right.
Absolutely.
No, we segued. Let's get into today's topic. Can I scroll down, please? I gotta find my podcast script.
Yeah, that's what we keep ourselves straight with. Well, I'll talk a little bit about it. So, as you probably have figured out, we're talking about May. You know, a great time, but also an important time to talk about Mental Health Awareness Month. Now, we did talk about this last year, but we think it's so important that we are going to mention it again, especially with everything that's been going on. And every year, thousands of people, hundreds of thousands even, you could say, struggle with mental illness of any kind. It doesn't have to just be considered like depression or bipolar disorder. There's anxiety, there's dementia, schizophrenia, PTSD, and there is definitely way more. Mental health is definitely becoming more important to discuss, more important to be aware of.
That's what I feel.
Because then it can also affect your physical health too. I didn't know that.
I feel like it used to be like a subject where like nobody wanted to talk about it, or like before we had what we have today with like modern medicine and everything, it was kind of taboo and you didn't want to talk about people that had mental health issues, or they didn't realize what it was, and people were institutionalized and they weren't given the help that they need. And I think there's way more resources now that people have. And there are still like facilities and things that they help people as opposed to just like, locking them up or institutionalizing them. Like they're actually helping them. And there's a lot of resources there. So people are talking about it more, which I think is a good thing. And I think that's another reason that we kind of want to talk about it again this year, even though we did last year. We want to like bring about that awareness and let people know it's okay to talk about. it's probably better that we do talk about it, because how are you going to learn and know what it is and understand it if it's not talked about?
Absolutely. Well, it's never a comfortable topic either, but knowing that people talk about, I think helps it become easier to talk about or bring up in a dialogue format. Because, like, if you don't know where to start, it's nice to have somebody that you can be like, hey, mom or dad, or like your best friend, and being like, hey, I feel this way. Can you like help me find some resources or anything?
Right.
Even your local library. We have a bunch of stuff.
We do. That's, yeah, one of the first websites. I was kind of looking at different places that like have resources in like Ohio specifically. Um, and I wanted to make sure we put the library on there because we have research databases that have a wide variety of health resources, from like Merck manuals, the CDC, physician's desk reference, rehab help. And then I don't know if we mentioned it before on a podcast, but we have what's called the Niche Academy, and it has a lot of like educational training videos and things like that, and that's open to the public. So you can see these training videos to either like help yourself, or if you want to help someone else that you think is struggling with something, there's training videos for that. So that was like one of the resources we wanted to mention. The other ones that I had found was the Ohio Department of Education, which offers resources for student well-being and school-based healthcare that supports students and parents, because not just adults deal with mental health issues. A lot of kids deal with stuff that maybe we don't even realize.
May I actually hit you with a trivia question?
Yeah.
That relates specifically to the young people.
Mm-hmm.
I pulled some questions because I thought it might be fun for us, but this one correlates so well that I have to interject. Half of all mental illnesses occur before a person turns blank years old, and 3/4 of mental illness.
Whoa.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to finish the last sentence because I don't want to give away the age. So there's either, well, I guess I'll finish it. So, and 3/4 of mental illness begin before age 24. So your options
Wow.
are, yeah, 10, 14, or 18 years of age.
That's scary to think about. That like,
Yeah,
and I wouldn't want to say 10 because that feels so young, but that doesn't mean that 10-year-olds can't be dealing with something.
absolutely.
Wow. I'm actually going to say 14 though.
Yeah, that's right. Half of all mental illnesses occur before a person turns 14 years old, and 3/4 of mental illness begin before age 24.
That's a scary thought just when you put it in perspective. Like, that's a huge population of people.
Yeah,
And if it starts when they're, in middle school, going to high school, like they're already dealing with a lot. That's, if it starts at 14, 15, that's already a really weird age. You're like still growing, figuring out who like you're gonna be. You've got a lot of stuff going on, weird hair days, probably bad skin. You're super awkward. Like, it's
yeah,
a weird age, and you're dealing with all of that, learning to grow up. Going into high school is really stressful. There's bullying. There's just a lot that kids have to deal with, and public school can be really unforgiving in certain situations, and that can lead to a lot of just like
yeah. And I don't
mental
think,
fatigue, I guess.
I'd like to think it could get better now that people are becoming more aware, but there's not nearly enough awareness as there should be. Because, like
I agree.
we talked about before, people didn't really talk about it. So now all
Mm-hmm.
these problems have been passed down, and now people are finally seeing why and how it's happening and what they can do to like combat it.
Mm-hmm. And so, like, honestly, it should be probably something that's talked about in schools too, just to, yeah, bring about that awareness, or just, yeah, make people aware or be able to understand. Like, don't pick on the kid that is a little slower, because you don't know what they're dealing with. And don't pick on the one who
Absolutely.
seems perfect, because they could be dealing with something too and you just don't know it.
Shouldn't really be picking on anybody. Mind your own business. Stay in your lane.
But yeah, anybody can be dealing with something and you wouldn't even know it. If you can counter 12 people in your day, 10 of them could be having something going on and you wouldn't even know it.
Absolutely.
So never judge, because you don't know what someone else is going through. Real quick, the last website that I found that I really thought had a ton of resources is called Mental Health America. And they have classes, support groups, family programs, teen programs, and a ton more, with a bunch of resources and training sessions and different things that you can look at. They have an event calendar that shows you when all of their sessions are and when their groups meet, so you never miss a session. And they have online screenings and a 24-hour crisis line you can call. And I wanted to throw this out there. I didn't put it in the notes, but if you're feeling like you need immediate help, you can always call 911. If you feel unsafe with yourself, or you feel like you're having something and you need to call someone right away, you can always call 911. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Be safe. We care about you and we want you to be safe and healthy.
Absolutely. And we'll make sure to, whether you're listening or watching, we'll have the links for these resources too in the description. So you can, if you just want to look, you want to peruse, if not for you, for somebody else, there's more than welcome. We'll keep those links up there for you guys.
Since we are also a library, I don't know why I said also. We're not also anything else. We are a library.
I mean, we are a lot of things. You know, we're the community center. We have resources. We have charming people to talk to. We have computers, books, DVDs. There's a lot. We do a bit.
Okay. So I can say, since we're also a library, we want to provide information about books that also relate to our subject this month, which is mental health.
See, the first one we have listed, I have only read one John Green book, and that's because it was becoming a movie, and then it made me sad, and I haven't read any more of his books.
Oh, did you read The Fault in Our Stars?
Of course.
I did not read that one. I haven't read any John Green books.
Ugh.
But I remember reading reviews for this one in particular. It's the newest one that he wrote, but it's probably 2 years old now, or 3 years old, I think. Turtles All the Way Down. So it centers around a 16-year-old who has OCD and anxiety, and it revolves around like how she deals with personal loss and growing up and like building new relationships. I think the library used to carry book pages, which was, they're like these little magazines, and they would talk about like all the new books that came out, and they would have interviews and stuff in them. And I remember reading the interview that John Green gave when this book came out and how hard it was for him to write it. That's why I was excited. I actually found like a little quote that I think was part of that interview, because Green stated, quote, "This is my first attempt to write directly about the kind of mental illness that has affected my life since childhood. So while the story is fictional, it is also quite personal," end quote. So he has dealt with anxiety and OCD his entire life. So this was his first time writing a character that had something that he was dealing with at the same time. So it was very hard for him to write, but he also thought it was really important and very much like a part of him. He was like inserting himself into his story. I think you guys read this. This was a book group book a while ago.
I was going to say, if it was my group before I became a part of it, I cannot confirm nor deny.
It might have been the Wine Flight group, actually.
It could
But I remember
be.
somebody read it. It was a book group book. I don't know. I'm not a part of any of the book groups. There's like 4 book groups.
It's a lot.
Between libraries. and I'm not a part of any of them.
That's okay.
I'll help promote, but I don't attend. I don't have time to read. How sad is that?
I feel that. It's very hard for me to even get my one book done. My ladies, if you're listening, you know, some months I don't finish my book, and they're such troopers. They're like, that's okay, we get it. I'm like, thank you for being understanding because I really try, and sometimes the books are just not for me. And it makes
Yes.
me feel better when they also do not like the book we're reading. We read, we tried, I should say, to read Vanity Fair and poor reviews.
I
Not
heard
a
that
good
one's
read.
terrible.
Ugh.
Maybe you were the one that
Granted,
told me that it was terrible.
it is a book. It's solely based on like anti-hero characters, so they're all terrible people to begin with.
Mm.
And it just was too long, not great. Do not recommend for those that want to read a classic.
There was whatever's being read for this month, by Frederick Bachman, Anxious People.
Oh, yes.
Nobody liked that one. They're like,
Yeah,
the
I heard mixed
characters
reviews.
are over the top, and I hated everybody. I'm like, whoa. I haven't read it, but it doesn't even
Me
sound
either.
interesting. Like, it just sounds like really annoying, over the top people that are just like overbearing personalities, but they're all like that.
That'd be a lot to handle.
Yeah. We're getting off subject. We're not talking about those books, but I'll
That's
throw
right.
another one at you called Furiously Happy, a funny book about horrible things by Jenny Lawson. This is a book about embracing everything that makes us who we are, the beautiful and the flawed, and then using it to find joy in fantastic and outrageous ways. In this book, Jenny explores her lifelong battle with mental illness and how she had learned to accept it and keep on living.
See, I like books like this. Not to say like you shouldn't make fun of like your experiences, but I think you acknowledging them, accepting for what it is, this is just something you have to deal with, and then you kind of make it a positive for yourself or like some way to cope with it. I always like
Yeah.
those.
I love the people that are able to laugh at
I mean, it's either
themselves.
you laugh or you cry, and I would
Yeah.
rather laugh.
Yes.
I don't really like crying.
I remember putting this book on the book sale at one point, and I think we own a copy of it, possibly. But I love the front cover of it because it's a raccoon that's standing on its hind legs, and it's got its arms like spread wide open, and it's like, it looks like it's smiling because its mouth is open, and it says furiously happy, and it just like, it fits the energy. And
I
I
think
just
I know
love
which
the
book you're
book
talking about.
cover. Yeah.
That's some good marketing.
Nathan, put the book cover up on the screen for people to see it. And then those of you listening, go look it up, please, and see what I'm talking about, because it's such a funny looking book cover, but I love it. So, do you want me to keep going?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think this is a good list.
It took me, I don't want to say a long time, but I was really trying to find ones that were like, I don't know, really just fit. I don't know what I was trying to say. Okay, the next one is a YA novel, which I should say Turtles All the Way Down is also a YA novel, so it's good for teens or adults to read. Anybody can read whatever type of book they want, but this one is specifically a YA novel. Don't get on me for saying novel really weird. I choked on spit. I'm just having a day. It's crazy. I'm just happy to be here. Okay, this one is called Darius the Great is Not Okay. And I'm sorry, I did not look up how to pronounce this name, but it's by Adib Karam. I'm probably saying that wrong. I'm so sorry.
That'd be my best guess.
Hi,
yeah,
my name is
I'm sorry,
Adib
that's what it
Karam.
looks like. But in this book, the main character has a hard time fitting in anywhere, and his clinical depression makes things even harder. Then he meets someone that not only sees him for who he is, but helps him appreciate himself for who he is. I like the premise behind this book, because that is just like a little summary. If you go and like actually look up like the full synopsis for the book, it's very interesting because I think he's vacationing with his grandparents, but they don't fully understand like what he has to deal with or like the medicine he takes for his depression. So he has kind of a hard time already fitting in, but also he doesn't feel super, I don't want to say accepted, but like his family doesn't understand him and the depression he's dealing with. So he meets this friend, it's like an instant connection of like they understand him and he can start understanding and accepting himself and what he has to go through in his depression and everything. I like the just idea behind the story. I might read this one.
Yeah.
It seems really interesting to me.
Well, I just like the title in general too. It is absolutely okay to say you're not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like you cannot be okay all the time.
Oh,
I mean, yeah, you
absolutely.
can be in a good mood, but let's be honest, we're not always that cheerful all the time.
No. I remember a while ago, Jen had listened to the podcast and I had said, that might have been last May. But I remember saying that like I was going through something and I was having a really, really bad day and I was like in tears all day. And then I had to come to work. So I washed my face, got all dressed up, came to work like nothing happened. And I just, kept going because that's just what you do. Right?
You try,
You try. Sometimes it's really hard. I mean,
honestly.
sometimes that's not okay. Sometimes you need to talk about it or see somebody or do something. It's not always okay to just put on a brave face and deal. That's not always the solution. But for me that day it was something I could move past. I was just having a bad day. But I remember her listening to me say that and she came to me later and she's like, you can always talk to me. I had no idea you were like so upset that day because you never acted like you were upset that day. And I'm like, yeah. I just remember that distinctly. So like everybody has bad days. Everybody's got down times, but it's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to talk to somebody about it. Or go to your boss or your family member or your, favorite coworker and tell them like, hey, I'm not okay.
Yeah. It's better to let it out, that's for sure.
I've definitely had a lot of support from my friends and family for everything that happened in March and dealing
That's
with a
good
lot of
though.
like I was on a medicine that I didn't really like and it was making me really depressed. So I had a lot of support from my family and like it does help to talk about it or honestly just cry. I spent an entire day crying one day just because I needed to.
I'm telling you, sometimes you got to have a cry sesh. I've been there.
So like it's good to have the support of your friends and family. And if you are the friends and family, it's good to be supportive.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Now this one, I
Moving.
think, the
Yeah.
next one, I think, is a good one. Don't call me crazy. 33 voices start the conversation about mental health, which I definitely think is important because some people think they're being helpful and they say something which is can be very either insensitive or triggering, and they might not know how to approach it the right
How to
way.
start that conversation. Exactly.
Can be a lot if you don't know.
Yeah, I did find this one really interesting too because it's a nonfiction book. So it is 33 actors, athletes, and writers who offer their understanding of mental illness by talking about their own experiences. And they tell us, or like they talk about like the do's and don'ts of mental illness. So what Ariel was saying, like what to not say in certain situations and what you can say and what's acceptable. Because yeah, a lot of times you don't know.
Yeah. And this next one that you found, it's a realistic fiction book. It's called Winter Girls.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea that this book was about it. I've seen it on the shelf by Laurie Anderson, and I had no idea it dealt with like a young girl who suffers from anorexia and her path to healing after the loss of her best friend and how she found hope in the darkest of times.
I also didn't know what this book was about. And again, like just reading the synopsis of it, is very heavy. I was gonna say dark, but not, it's just a very heavy subject. A lot of mental health books and things can be very heavy. But I don't remember the age of this girl, but like her and her best friend are in a quote unquote competition to see who could be the thinnest. They're both anorexic and her friend ends up dying. And so it kind of like opened her eyes to realizing that she was sick essentially and she needed help and she wanted to get better and she didn't want to die. She didn't want to end up like her friend. And it's like it was the eye-opening that she needed to realize that she needed help.
Yeah, that's definitely heavy for sure.
That one is also, I believe, in the YA section, but it is very heavy for a YA book. I don't know. Any book can be read by anybody, though. I read kids' books all the time for funsies.
Oh yeah, I read like picture books, YA books.
Yeah.
As long as you're enjoying it, that's really all that matters.
Yep, you can read whatever you want.
No judgment. That. We're not bothered.
Nope.
As long as it's not illegal. That's the only thing.
Yes.
Then it's fine.
Don't read illegal books. I don't think we have illegal books at the library to hand out, but you know.
No, we do not. At least we shouldn't.
Do you have some more quizzy questions I can answer?
I sure do. I pulled a bunch, but I wasn't sure depending on how our discussion was going to go, how it would be. So I'll do a couple good ones here. So I'll start off with one that we sort of kind of talked about, like your physical overall health can relate to mental health too.
Mm-hmm.
So poor mental health increases the risk for long-lasting physical conditions like heart disease, stroke, cancer, or all of the above.
Wait.
And long-lasting is chronic pain as well.
Did you say poor mental health can lead to physical health like that?
Mm-hmm.
That can lead to cancer? I don't know if I believe that. I believe it could lead to heart. Well, I don't know. What was the other one? Heart cancer?
Heart disease, stroke, and cancer, or all the above.
I just want to say stroke. I don't feel like cancer can come from poor mental health. That's a scary thought. I'm just going to say stroke. Because if you're stressed out.
It's actually all of them.
It can lead to cancer?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, like your mental health kind of like your brain talks to your whole body and like how it functions. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I never would have thought that. The stroke seemed obvious, or maybe even like heart issues, but like, I guess no one really knows where cancer comes from.
Not
it's like
currently.
Such a chaotic thing that's just like bam in your body. Don't know where it came from. Now we don't know how to get rid of it in a lot of cases. Unfortunately, I'm so sorry. Right? It sucks. That's why. Like I hate that disease so much. I can't even. I just hate it so much.
That is definitely why you should definitely stress mental health is super important to an overall like your overall health and well-being. So everything with you correlates with itself, which is so mind-boggling.
I will say it does, like, you will feel better if you are more active.
Oh yeah.
Like if you're just not having a great day, like you just don't feel like it today, you know? If you just get up and go take a walk outside for 20 minutes and come back in, you got all that fresh air, you got some sunshine, you stretched your legs, your muscles, like all of that physically is gonna actually help your mental. So it goes
absolutely
kind of both ways. Like if
I had that in college, like my professor and I would not see eye to eye. I was not understanding what she was trying to teach. And I'd be so frustrated that I would just like walk for hours. And then I was like, oh, I feel so much better now that I did that.
Yeah, it clears your head, just having that little bit of activity and more oxygen in your body.
Yeah.
It's good for you. Good for your soul. I want to go play in the snow. It's
I know, I
so
feel like I should have
beautiful.
wore snow boots today.
It has coated the trees outside.
Well,
Amazing.
this next question, I know that I gave you a sample before we actually recorded. But for those listening or watching, this is something important, a good statistic.
Oh yeah.
Suicide is the blank leading cause of death among people ages 15 to 34 in the United States. Is it the 24th, 10th, 40th, or 2nd?
No. The second
It is the 2nd, which
leading cause.
something I should have looked at. I did not look up what is the first leading cause.
I have to Google it now.
What'd you find?
So the top thing on Google says that unintentional injury and homicide were the leading causes of death among residents ages 15 to 24.
Huh.
And then it was followed by suicide and then cancer.
Oh, then maybe.
So I don't know what all is under the category of unintentional injury, but homicide's murder, right?
Yeah. Well, I found something, but this is 2010, saying the first two leading causes of death is heart disease and cancer, but that was a while ago. Yeah, but I see what you see for
So like
2020. Unintentional falls.
accidents, yeah. So that, I
Yeah.
guess that could be like car accidents or like freak work related accidents, things like that, unintentional
Yeah.
injury, and then homicide, and then suicide as the second leading.
Jeez.
Ugh, I hate it.
Yeah.
Again, questionable search history. Delete that. My goodness.
Well, and there's like crazy numbers here. In a year, how many people will suffer from a mental health problem? There's 4 options. There's 1 in 6, 1 in 3, 1 in 4, or 1 in 10.
Well, it's got to be 1 in 3 because that's like a smaller. Like it's not 1 in 10 because I feel like the margin's much higher. There would be like 7 out of 10 people dealing with something, not 1 out of 10. So since 3 is smaller, I would say it'd be like 1 out of 3 people.
Yeah, that's right.
Because see what we're saying, like it's the majority of the populace is dealing with something. It's so out there, and you probably don't even know it. Half the people you encounter in your day might have some sort of mental illness that you don't even know about. It could just be,
right.
well, I don't want to say just anxiety, but it could be anxiety that
Well,
they
yeah,
have, and they're just dealing with their day, and you don't know they have anxiety. You don't know what they're feeling. It could be something like that.
Yeah, and people that are affected by depression are 1 in 5, so that's a big number too.
I
Which
believe
depression is the most common mental health illness in the United States, according to what I found. Yeah.
I believe that. Just like I go back to that one book we talked about, Furiously Happy. That she's like, it doesn't specifically say, I don't know if she says in the book what her lifelong mental illness is. It just in the synopsis says mental illness. And how she like learned to find joy in outrageous ways. I believe there are people that even though she probably struggled for a really long time learning to deal with it, now that she has like a higher like functioning, if that makes sense. Like I believe there are people with mental illness out there that are
that
very highly
better.
they're very highly functioning, and you don't even realize that they're dealing with something. or, you know, people that like are very regulated on their medicine that's helping them deal with depression or anxiety. And again, you don't even realize that they're dealing with something.
Yeah.
Where it's not like that for everybody. There are some straight people that struggle daily.
Yeah.
Was that
But
all
that was
your quizzy questions?
yes, because some of them are a little bit obvious, like mental illnesses are very common, not very common, fairly common.
Oh, they're very
Which,
common.
yes. So those I'm not going to ask you because I think a lot
Right.
of I think everyone knows a little bit more on those.
Right. But yeah, if you're curious about more of this or books related to it, we have a lot of books at both libraries that just dealing with mental illness, how to help someone with mental illness, things like that. We can
Care
always order
support.
books from different libraries if you're more interested. We're going to link all of the websites we talked about, so you have easy access to that. We'll link it here and also on like where you listen to podcasts and everything. If you're listening, we'll make sure you can also access those. And yeah, I'm thinking about putting up a mental illness book display for May at the library. So I can put up some of the books we talked about, and they'll be like right there if you walk in and you're looking for something.
I think that's a good idea.
Just to bring about that awareness, you know. But I think it's time.
It is time. If I know what you're referencing, I believe it is time.
I think you know what I'm referencing. Let me pull up my share screen here.
Dun 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 hey, dun 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 hey.
Time for word
Oh,
detectives.
oh my gosh. Listen, okay. For those of you that are listening and can't see what I see right now, dear Lord.
Say the word. Oh my gosh.
I
can't scroll. Okay, hold on, I got it. The word
good.
for
Oh,
May
there's pronunciation. Whew.
is. Oh, there is.
Thank God.
That's not how I thought that was going to be pronounced. Okay. Borborygmus.
Yeah, Borborygmus.
Borborygmus.
And this is spelled BORBORYGMUS. I would be horrified to see this word on a spelling test.
Borborygmus.
Borborygmus.
Interesting.
Okay.
If we have any, I was going to say, if we have any new listeners, at the end of every podcast, we do something called Word Detectives, where our editor gives us a really weird word that we've never heard of. And it's up to us, along with a couple of clues that he's given us, to detect what this word means and what its origins are. And today is Borborygmus. It reminds me of something. It reminds me of like, I can't think what it's called. It's this is gonna sound really morbid. What do you call it when someone dies? And
rigor mortis, where the blood's settling.
Rigor mortis. That's what this word reminds me of.
I did take a forensics class, and that is something we spoke about quite frequently because you had to detect like when somebody died and like figure out a whole bunch of stuff.
Does Borborygmus have anything to do with dead people?
I couldn't. It's been a long time.
I would seriously hope not, just because of what our subject was today. That sounds really awful. We're gonna pretend like this has nothing to do with dead people, and that's just my morbid brain. I'm sorry. That's not cool.
Right.
Let's get our first clue so that I can shut up. Clue number 1. Did you hear that? Borborygmus is a noun used for the first time, or at least recorded, in the year 1724, which also happens to be the same year Pope Innocent the 13th passes away and Peter the Wild Boy gets captured in Hanover, Germany. Who the heck is Peter the Wild Boy?
Great question.
Back to my phone, looking up weird stuff, because you can't give me weird information like this and expect me to just be like, yeah, I'm not going to look that up.
I mean, it sounds like it could be relevant to finding out what the heck this word means.
Peter the Wild Boy was a boy from Hanover in northern Germany who was found in 1725 living wild in the woods near Hamelin, the town of Pied Piper legend.
Oh.
Oh my goodness. This is like a painting of him, but I'm so confused by what I'm looking at.
Okay. So.
Oh, he even walked on all fours and exhibited uncivilized behavior, and he could not be taught to speak a language.
Oh, okay. There's been some kids like that in the United States history.
They're now thinking that he was believed to have a rare genetic disorder.
Okay.
Interesting.
I say let's take in the second clue, because I'm not quite sure how that's relevant.
I'm also not sure. We'll just know Borborygmus
We need
is a
more
noun.
clues, yeah.
Clue number 2. All of these pictures relate to I can't even say anymore.
Borborygmus.
Yes.
Whew.
Okay. All of these pictures relate to it, but
let's get ready to rumble. Oh my gosh, is it indigestion?
Oh, is it?
Like you have gas ready to rumble?
Oh.
The intestines?
Right, there's someone pumping gas. There's thunder, like the rumble rumbling. Of thunder. Liver, stomach, large intestine. Small intestine is it's like bold letters.
Yeah.
So it deals more with the small intestine.
I'm thinking it's some sort of medical term.
Yeah.
But that's my initial hunch by looking at all of these.
No, I like that. I think you're right. It could be, yeah, something with indigestion. Clue number 3.
Okay.
And it's a sentence as the final clue. After lunch, my Borborygmus was so loud, everyone in the room looked over at me to see what the ruckus was.
Is it a fart?
I could see Nathan doing this. He
passing
would.
gas. It's just a fancy term for passing gas.
Is it?
I mean, it just sounds like you ate your lunch, then your Borborygmus was so loud. Unless it's a burp, it could be that too. Like, oh, you're showing like the tank is full.
Do you ever you're not hungry, but your stomach is digesting? So it's like making all those rumbly, grumbly noises to like digest your food.
There's too many options right now. Man.
Nathan, what have you done?
It's related to digestion. I think we've pinpointed that much. I think.
I mean, one of the pictures was specifically gas.
Yeah. But then the way the crackling of I don't know if it was the volume or it coming down. So it's a loud I don't know, when you burp you're just like blah. Oh man. But I almost want to say it's passing gas though.
I think we should go see.
Yeah, because I think it could be either one.
Borborygmus mean? Intestinal rumbling caused by moving gas.
Oh, okay. So we were thinking more singular when it's actually all together.
Happening, yeah. But was I kind of, well, I didn't really say intestinal. I said your stomach. I was kind of off.
I could see that though.
Okay. According to Merriam-Webster, unless you're a gastroenterologist, chances are you never knew there was a name for those loud gurglings your belly sometimes makes. And if in looking at the word, you thought it was just some crazy coinage invented by someone who thought the word matched the rumbling sound it represented, you'd be right, in a way. We picked it up from New Latin, but it traces to the Greek verb
Borborizane, maybe. I'm just kind of modifying it.
I don't know why crazy words stop me in my tracks. Like, I don't even try to say them. Which essentially means to rumble. It is believed that the Greek verb was coined to imitate the digestive noises made by a stomach. Borborygmus has been part of English for at least 250 years. Its earliest known use was, my God, finish the last sentence for me. I can't.
You can do it.
Its earliest known use dates from around 1724.
Wow.
I can only read for so long and my brain just shuts off and my mouth no longer works.
Borborygmus.
At
least now I can. I mean, I do think you could use this. Like somebody's tummy's rumbling. Borborygmus. Like,
yeah, it's your intestines working.
Wow. I had no idea.
So, it sounds like a stomach rumbling. Borborygmus. So your stomach's rumbling, it's like Is that why?
I mean, I like that thought process you have. I like that. That might be what helps a child remember how to spell it on the spelling test.
There we go. Yeah. You learned something. And that's the reason we do Word Detective, is so that you learn something new. Learn a new word.
And if you're a medical student and you need to know that, there you go. You're welcome.
Yeah. I demand everyone learn how to use this in everyday vernacular now that you know it. Use it at least once this week. I challenge all of our listeners to use it at least once this week.
Honestly, I will try to use it as well, but I'll have to say it really slowly, like Borborygmus, just to make sure I'm saying it correctly.
I need a list of all the words we've already done so I can go back and try to use them. The only one that I like, there's two, I think, or at least one. Meldrop, which I use all the time, which is that little bit of like snot you get on the end of your nose when your nose is running and it just goes to the end. And I actually, thinking about it now, I don't know if we did it on here or if it was a word that we did in like our dictionary when we used to set a dictionary out and like have people find words, and that was collywobbles.
Yeah, I do remember that one.
I think that one's just like upset stomach, sort of, right?
I think so. But it's been a while.
Give me 2 seconds here. Let me look up the collywobbles.
We're going to confirm that we're telling everyone correctly. We don't want to lead you all astray.
It's stomach pain or queasiness. Yeah.
Unless I'm thinking of a different word, but I think we might have done that on the podcast. Unless I'm thinking of cattywampus, but I think we did that one when we did the dictionary thing, cattywampus over here.
Oh, yeah. So maybe we did have collywobbles on here. So it really just means an upset stomach.
Oh, that's a good word. Thanks, Nathan.
Oh, cattywampus is a variant of catawampus. It's askew. It means slightly off. It's askew. It's not straight. I don't know why that was there. I looked at collywobbles, and you know how Google does that thing where it's got the little bars with the drop down?
Oh,
you click on one of them and it just expands and you just keep going forever until you don't know what you're looking at anymore. I do that all the time.
You can learn some really interesting stuff that way, though.
That's true. That is true.
So many things correlate and you have no idea.
Oh yeah, for sure. It is a fun way to learn. Google's full of stuff. Some of it's good, some of it's not great. I mean, pick and choose.
Yeah, just look at your sources.
Yeah. So, again, I've become distracted by the snow.
That was a good one.
Yeah, and I think we were pretty close actually to the definition.
I think so.
Kudos to us.
for not knowing the word. I thought that one
Yeah.
came together pretty quick for us.
Yeah, and I'm sorry my brain thought it was something morbid. Sorry.
Hey, it just turns out it was about gas.
Hey, that's better, honestly. This has been a good episode, I feel
I
like.
think so.
And like,
Yeah.
I felt more energetic, honestly. I think just because I'm glad to be back. I'm back to work and I haven't seen Ariel in forever. So like, it's just
I
fun to be here.
know. I'm so glad we got to be able to do it because I know we had to reschedule us recording. So I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Which I was telling her earlier, it was a good thing, honestly, that we did reschedule. I had more time to research and put stuff into the script that we read you and some of the books that we found and everything. And she had time to look up the quiz questions. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise being able to like just have that little more time just so we could get you guys some better information.
Yes.
So that's always a good thing. We want to make sure that we're feeding you guys good information and fun new words.
Heck yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think on that note, we will thank you all for joining us on another episode of Harris-Elmore and Genoa Libraries with me, Ariel, and Sierra. And we shall see you all. Oh, would you like to sign us off?
I was just going to say we'll see you next month. I'm copying you.
Here.
I know you were adjusting your glasses, but now I'm copying you because it looked like you were doing some sort of like psychic mind thing.
Ooh, see you next
month.